Number 10. OPHIS. OPHIS was a large, frightening, demonic mutant also belonging to the NIGHTCRAWLER. He had an insane level of strength and durability. If Yggdrasil was the dark opposite of Angel, then OPHIS was the dark opposite to Wolverine, which is saying something about just how dark and demonic he was, as Logan himself is a pretty dark side. As such, in the battle with X-Men, OPHIS ended up torturing a captured Wolverine, but during the destruction of Azazel's castle, he ended up getting an arm free, and well, that was kind of the end of OPHIS, cause you know, snicked. You know how it goes. Literally the next panel, just Wolverine. Snicked. He dead. Claws to the head. What a way to go. Number 9. Yggdrasil. Yggdrasil was part of Azazel's army, a member of the NIGHTCRAWLER. The NIGHTCRAWLER are basically demonic mutants, so expect to maybe see a few more of their numbers on this list, other than OPHIS and Yggdrasil. After Azazel and the other NIGHTCRAWLER were exiled to the Brimstone Dimension following a feud with the Seraphim, basically the opposite of the NIGHTCRAWLER, angelic mutants, they plotted to one day escape their hellish dimension. They even temporarily succeeded and were fought against by the X-Men. Angel was captured in the fight and given to Yggdrasil to torture, but was saved when Yggdrasil was killed. Yggdrasil, like Angel, also had wings and could fly. He was also superhumanly strong and dexterous. Ooh la la. Number 8. KIWI Black. KIWI Black is Nightcrawler's half-brother. He is the son of Azazel and likely an indigenous Polynesian woman from New Zealand, as he is part Maori. He was depowered on M-Day, which is why he takes one of the bottom spots, but when he did have powers, they were pretty neat. He could channel bioenergy and use it to increase his strength, or channel it through other beings via touch to disrupt their powers or cause their organs to malfunction. He could also channel this energy through natural surroundings in order to alter it. For example, smashing craters in the ground, or using his powers to cause rock formations to appear shooting up out of the ground. Originally, KIWI Black worked along Azazel, helping him to try and free his army from the dimension that they were trapped in and transport them to Earth. However, after surviving a sacrificial ritual, he ended up rebelling and instead allied himself with the X-Men. That's what happens when you find out your dad's trying to use you as a gateway. Dang. Time to join the good guys, I guess. Number 7. Sapna. Sapna became, for a time, Magik's sort of protege. Her mutant powers allowed her to absorb and understand any languages she came into contact with, similar to Cypher. The difference was, at the time when Sapna's powers manifested, she was in limbo. This led her to absorbing all of the magical knowledge in the limbo dimension, which granted her additional demonic abilities. As a result, she became a magic user who could control demons and cast spells. Magik even suspected that Sapna was capable of reanimating the dead. Unfortunately, we never got to find out, as Sapna met her demise when the World Eater used her as a host and Magik was forced to kill her, trapping her spirit for a time inside her soul sword. Number 6. NILS STYGER. STYGER is known by the codename of Abyss. STYGER? Stigger? Which one is it? He is also half-brother of NIGHTCRAWLER, on his father's side, meaning that he is also the son of Azazel. His powers allow him to unravel his body, which is made of wrappings. Yeah, if you've ever wondered what a mutant mummy would be like, this is pretty much it. He can use his wrappings to defend himself and attack with them, and when wrapped up, his body is made more durable by his wrappings. Like his half-brother, he also shares a link to the Brimstone Dimension. In the center of his chest, underneath his wrappings, is a dark void that when revealed acts like a black hole, so he can use it to suck in enemies, transporting and trapping them in the Brimstone Dimension for as long as Abyss sees fit. NILS can also absorb fear energy and use it to power himself. Unfortunately, he was depowered during M-Day, then repowered by the Terrigen Mist, but only to be depowered again later. Yeesh! Number 5. SABRETOOTH. While Sabretooth might not be more powerful than some of the mutants previously listed, he is still alive and still has his powers, albeit he is in exile right now. During the Weapon X series from 2017, Sabretooth found himself tied to the demonic world after he sacrificed himself to save his son Graydon from hell. I know, weird, right? What a weird time to become tied to demons, but let's talk about that. Victor had gone to hell to trade his soul for his son's, and as such he was reverted to a base animalistic state and was set free from the dimension by Marduk, who confessed that he would not enjoy torturing Sabretooth in hell, both while he was not competent enough to understand it, because he was all like animalistic, and while he had just earned such torture through a noble deed, as opposed to a series of bad ones. Marduk was like, why can't you just be terrible? I want you to be terrible again. So Marduk then allowed him to be resurrected, sending him out into the world once more, but now free of the conscience that we'd seen Sabretooth build throughout the last few arcs he'd had in the comics, trying to redeem himself. Kind of had like a heroic Sabretooth almost coming, but nope, he's gone. So now he's back, he's bad, and he's on a road back to hell. Hence him being a bad guy again. Sad. I kinda miss good guy Sabretooth. Do you guys miss good guy Sabretooth? Probably not. Let me know in the comments. Number 4. NIGHTCRAWLER. NIGHTCRAWLER has all sorts of demonic ties. Firstly, he is the son of AZAZEL, who had a thing with his biological mother Mystique while she was married to Baron Christian Wagner. When Kurt was being born, Mystique lost momentary control of her powers while in labor, revealing to everyone her true nature. Because of baby Kurt's demonic form and Mystique's reveal of her ability to shapeshift, the two were chased down by an angry mob. During their fight, Mystique lost consciousness and lost baby Kurt in the process. NIGHTCRAWLER would go on to be taken in by Romani sorceress Zarathos. His teleportation powers link him to the Brimstone dimension, which he uses as a stepping stone to transport himself wherever he so chooses with his teleportation powers. The Brimstone dimension basically acts as a through point for Kurt, leaving a puff of smoke behind every time he uses it that smells of burnt brimstone. Bam! That's his teleportation sound. Bam! Number 3. AZAZEL. AZAZEL is a very powerful mutant. He even claims to have competed for the title of Satan, battling Mephisto and other demonic beings for it. AZAZEL mated with humans in an attempt to create offspring that would help him and his army to escape the hell dimension that they were trapped in, using his children as a gateway to bring them through to Earth. He himself could teleport to Earth for periods of time due to his insanely strong teleportation powers. His affair with Mystique, who was married at the time, brought about baby NIGHTCRAWLER, and Mystique actually may have been the only Earthling that he ever truly cared for / maybe even loved. His powers include immortality, teleportation. In fact, it has been said that he is one of the most powerful teleporters to ever exist, the ability to physically influence one's will, and the ability to metamorph. Number 2. Madeline Pryor. Madeline Pryor is ranking high on this list because there's a good chance that she could be Omega level. Maddie was the clone of Jean Grey, one of the most powerful mutants that we know of currently. While she doesn't do it often, Pryor actually has the ability to warp reality. She is also virtually immortal, as whenever she is killed, although her physical form ceases to exist, she herself simply reverts to a psionic energy form due to her ties with the Phoenix Force. This is why Nate Gray was able to actually bring her back to life. When it comes to her demonic ties, Madeline is a magic user and sorceress who once made pacts with demons. That's actually how she got those powers, becoming the Goblin Queen. She has also used those ties to summon demonic creatures and get them to do her bidding. Number 1. MAGIK. Illyana Rasputin was kidnapped when she was just a little girl by Belasco and taken to Limbo. While there, she was given tons of power by Belasco, but Belasco was also controlling of her and pretty much a big creep the entire time. He put part of her soul into a bloodstone to solidify his control over her. Despite this, eventually MAGIK would train and rise up against him using some of her life force to craft her now famous soul sword and overthrow Belasco, later becoming the new ruler of Limbo. She even made the demon Sim her loyal servant for a while. Though being a slippery demon, he would eventually betray her. Unsurprisingly, that's such a Sim thing to do, you know what I mean? Number 10. Ginea. Ginea sewed her eyes shut originally to focus on her telepathy. Her powers involve telepathic and shapeshifting abilities. She's also able to absorb physical blows without really even feeling them. Her body overall is quite durable. Like some of the mutants we talked about on the part 1 of this list, she is also a Neophem, a very ancient demonic type of mutant. Ginea was also one of the members of Azazel's army, looking to escape the Brimstone dimension where they were trapped. She met her end against the X-Men in their fight to escape when Iceman dehydrated her, killing her. And man, that is a way to go. Did not look pleasant. Number 9. JILLIAN. JILLIAN was one of the members of Azazel's team of Neophem, those demonic mutants who were trying to escape the hellish Brimstone dimension. Yeah, the ones I was just talking about. Her powers include flight and agility, making her a decent match for the X-Men's Angel. When Azazel's army was defeated by the X-Men and thereby remained trapped in the Brimstone dimension, at least JILLIAN managed to survive the battle. Many of Azazel's other companions died during that fight. During the feud, JILLIAN also let it slip that she had a thing for NIGHTCRAWLER, but unfortunately for her, Kurt did not seem too interested. Probably because of, you know, the whole evil thing, to be honest. Number 8. Nature Girl. Nature Girl's powers include the ability to connect with nature, meaning that she is often able to influence animals and creatures of the wilderness and convince them to do her bidding. In fact, her influence even extends beyond critters, allowing her to control weather and the elements as well. Included in the beings that she seems to have influence over are Bamfs, which seem to be very attracted to Lindley. It's Lynn's connections to the Bamfs that has me pondering as to what other demonic creatures she might be able to influence. Is it possible that her nature powers extend to other realms, including the realms of demons? We have yet to see enough of her to be able to tell for sure, but it seems to me there is enough there to assume she might have some kind of demonic link when it comes to her abilities. Number 7. Archangel. Archangel is basically the demonic side of Angel, one of the founding members of the X-Men. Angel was originally transformed into his alter ego by Apocalypse when he was made his Horseman of Death, after Apocalypse manipulated his mind and altered his body on his celestial ship. This side of Angel resided within him even after he was freed from being Apocalypse's horseman and gave him a taste for death and destruction. In fact, he craved death and destruction a lot of the time. In this form, Angel has deadly techno-organic wings which not only allow him to fly, but also act as a shield, can fire poison-tipped organic feathers, and happen to be razor sharp and can be used themselves as blade-like weapons. Imagine having a sword fight with somebody's wings, oh my goodness. He also has a hypersonic scream which can be used to cause internal organ damage to his enemies, and he has a proper healing factor in this form. He doesn't just have to bleed on people. Beyond him being the dark side of his original form as Angel, Archangel also at one point became Apocalypse. He was like a dark god hell-bent on world domination through replacing all life on Earth with life that he himself had created. You know, typical scary Apocalypse things. Number 6. Young Beast. While Beast of Earth 616 sticks to science, young Hank McCoy from an alternate universe, temporarily and unofficially referred to as Earth 240, eventually turned to magics. In Volume 2 of All New X-Men, he is driven even further towards using the mystic arts, as he and the X-Men are forced to go up against the Goblin Queen and a demonic horde. In desperation, he accidentally performs a ritual that transforms him into a demonic beast, complete with giant horns. Well, not necessarily accidentally. He meant to do the ritual, but I don't think he really knew what he was doing, unfortunately. However, this ritual also levels up his powers enough to allow him to defeat Madeline Pryor. Yay! But of course, they come at a cost, because that's how magic works. Sometimes, depending on what lore you're reading, but sometimes it comes at a cost. Number 5. Wolverine, or as we knew him at the time, Helverine. When Wolverine's soul was trapped in hell by Mystique and the Red Right Hand, a demon took possession of his body, which was still on Earth. This demon-possessed version of Wolverine wreaked havoc on Earth while Wolverine was gone, killing anyone who got in his way and targeting many of Wolverine's family and friends when it came to who he decided to attack. Wolverine would eventually regain control over his body after battling his way out of hell and dealing with the demons that resided within his own mind. Number 4. CRULE. CRULE is a mutant external who has been tied to the gods Ishtar and Mithra. Ishtar was in fact a god who is also known as Ayana in the comics. In fact, she is a god with many names. She herself has been tied to the story of hell, the Eldritch gods, and on the less dark side, love and fertility even. Under the name that CRULE evoked of Ishtar, she was known as a god who demanded orgies and blood sacrifices in her name. All that fun demonic stuff, you know. CRULE has a demonic look about him with large muscles, orange hair, and purple skin, and he often acts like one as well, known for his violence and cruelty. His love of violence and cruelty. During World War II, he was a Nazi who worked in a concentration camp where he operated a gas chamber. All too happily, really. Like other externals, he is immortal and can resurrect himself. CRULE also possesses super strength and brandishes razor-sharp claws and teeth. Number 3. Garbacienne. Garbacienne is also a mutant belonging to the group known as Externals. External mutants are beings that are basically considered immortal, forever walkers, as N. Sabanur once referred to them as. Garbacienne also belonged to a group within the Externals known as the High Lords, the self-proclaimed leaders of the Externals. Not to be confused with the Eternals, by the way. Externals and Eternals, two different things. Garbacienne is known as being capable of resurrecting himself and has a strong healing factor. However, immortality does not mean that he can't be destroyed. Although Externals are powerful and hard to defeat, Garbacienne could be defeated through having his life force energy drained or his heart consumed by another External. His powers have generally been known to be based in the realm of magic. In fact, his magical shapeshifting abilities combined with his resurrection powers is why I thought of him as demonic, namely because he is known for shapeshifting into a fearsome and demonic dragon who can breathe fire. You can see this referred to in Gambit Volume 3 Issue 1, where Gambit set out to raid the tomb of Garbacienne's 12th son. Number 2. Storm. But when was Storm demonic, you ask? Well, this isn't quite the Storm you've always known. This is a version of Storm from Limbo, where magic was raised. She not only has the same powers as her Earth 616 counterpart, but she also possesses vast magical knowledge and abilities. She even trained young Illyana in magics for a while during her time in Limbo. But in the end, Magik had to kill her to prevent this version of Storm from Earth 8280 from being used by Belasco as a sacrifice in a ritual intended to free himself from Limbo. Which obviously would be bad news, because Belasco's a pretty bad dude. Number 1. Selene. One of the oldest mutants around, Selene is known for being 17,000 years old. Her powers both allow her and require her to drain life force energy. If she doesn't, she'll die. She can use this psychic energy to increase her own strength, speed, and durability, as well as maintain her immortality and her eternal youth. Feeding off life energy, though, often leads to her killing her victims, turning them into dust. Although she can choose to drain only some life energy from her victims, which allows them to live but also grants Selene full control over them, if she so chooses. She also has a slew of other powers, including telekinesis, telepathy, and pyrokinesis, and was once a member of the inner circle of the Hellfire Club. She is currently residing on Krakoa with many of the other mutants. There, she is in charge of helping to monitor the amount of psychic energy that herself and Krakoa drain from the population. She is actually allowed to feed off the population as part of the rules of Krakoa, wherein the Quiet Council agreed to provide whatever sustenance necessary to the mutants who joined that nation. And oh yeah, the sentient land of Krakoa feeds off of the psychic energy of its populace, in case you didn't know that. Selene was also originally known in Uncanny X-Men Volume 1 as the Demon Huntress. I like that alias for her.
Starting us off in at number 10, Zarathos. Zarathos is a demonic being who tortures and devours souls. What a pastime. He's generally an antagonist for Ghost Rider in Marvel's comics. Now, the demon first appeared in 1972's Marvel Spotlight issue 5, and he's terrifyingly powerful. He's virtually immortal and has superhuman strength, a healing factor, and elemental powers that allow him to wield, control, and project hellfire from his hands. The more souls he consumes, the more powerful he becomes. Now, Mephisto fought against Zarathos to put an end to his reign of terror, making him need to bond with a human host in order to collect souls. That's why the demon is bonded to Ghost Rider. Speaking of, that brings us to our next number. Up next at 9, Mephisto. Mephisto is Marvel's Satan equivalent, a demon who is based off of Mephistopheles of Faust legend. First appearing in 1968's Silver Surfer issue 3, Mephisto has long been a mainstay in Marvel's demonic world. He's a trickster, an extremely powerful mortal demonic entity who can manipulate the forces of magic in order to give him a range of abilities, which include superhuman strength, the ability to shapeshift and shift size, project illusions, manipulate memories, alter time, and avoid injury. If his physical form is destroyed, he can regenerate and reform in his own realm and then return. He acquires souls but cannot subjugate the will of another being without that being's permission, hence his infatuation with making pacts and deals. Up next, number 8, Blackheart. Blackheart was actually created by our previous number, Mephisto. This character first appeared in Daredevil issue 270 in 1989. He is a son that Mephisto created from the energy of accumulated evil. That sounds fun. Blackheart is highly intelligent, can manipulate energy, warp reality, shapeshift, is telepathic and telekinetic, has an accelerated healing factor, magical and mystical powers, and superhuman physical attributes. He also has no soul, and can call forward armies from hell. Moving on to number 7, Set. Set is an elder god, one who got a little greedy in the Marvel Universe. Now, Set had realized that he could become the most powerful of all elder gods by devouring other gods, and therefore decided to murder his fellow brethren in an attempt to harness their power for himself. In doing so, he became the first ever murderer on Earth. The more he murdered, and other gods who followed suit murdered, the more they would degenerate into demons, hence why Set is now a demon. He and his brother CHTHON were the worst for this, and degenerated into ghastly demonic entities. Set's got a whole lot of snake heads. If you don't like snakes, not the demon for you. Although why you would be choosing a demon for you is a question of its own. Moving on to number 6, a DC character finally, Nekron. Nekron is creepy as f***. Created in 1981, he is a DC character who first appeared in Tales of the Green Lantern Corps issue 2. Nekron draws power from souls and commands all of the souls and spirits of individuals who had died. Like, anyone who has died. So yeah, Kind of explains the whole scary aesthetic, eh? Anyway, the power he draws from allows him to pull off a lot of horrifyingly nifty tricks, including darkness manipulation, dark energy manipulation, necromancy of course, godly strength, invulnerability. He has a fatal touch, which is exactly what the name implies. He can manipulate souls, energy, matter, and dimensions. He is telepathic, can warp reality, alter his own size, project dark lightning, and of course, he's immortal. In at 5, Dormammu. The longtime foe of Doctor Strange, Dormammu is a demon that debuted back in the Silver Age and Marvel's panels in Strange Tales issue 126 in 1964. Created by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko, the character is known as the Lord of Chaos and the Great Enigma, and is considered one of the most powerful mystical entities within the Marvel Universe. Now he's a threat to the life of the universe itself, and is an interdimensional demon composed of mystical energy that can be used to achieve pretty much whatever effect he desires. He can create his own demon lords, and he has been known to be capable of having a universal, even multiversal scale of influence. He lives in the dark dimension where he is stronger thanks to the empowerment of his worshippers and followers. Up next at number 4, Barbatos. Barbatos is the second most recent character on this list in terms of creation. Barbatos was introduced to us during the Dark Knight's Metal event in 2017, in which Batman had accidentally discovered that a dark multiverse lies beneath the regular multiverse. The more he investigated, the more he opened up the gates between the multiverses accidentally, in which this sinister demon decided to send evil alternate versions of Batman over into the regular multiverse, with the intention of invading it and turning it dark. Barbatos is known as the Bat God, created by the World Forger to consume universes that had decayed. Barbatos would kill his creator out of the lust for destruction, and because he was no longer doing his designated job, unstable worlds just kinda stuck around for much longer than they should have, becoming part of this dark multiverse. Moving on to number 3, SHUMA-GORATH. SHUMA-GORATH is an ancient evil, arguably the most powerful ancient demon to ever exist in the Marvel Universe. Mephisto and Dormammu both claim to be inferiors to SHUMA-GORATH, and that kinda speaks volumes, doesn't it? So, who is this big ol' spiky tentacled eye? Well, sometimes referred to as the Lord of Chaos, this demonic entity can manipulate reality, project energy, shapeshift, levitate, teleport, has vast mystical powers, and of course, is immortal. Can't be on this list unless you're an immortal, right? In the early days of Earth's history, SHUMA-GORATH demanded human sacrifice before being banished by a time-traveling sorcerer. It would try to return to Earth via the mind of the Ancient One, which caused Doctor Strange to have to kill the Ancient One in order to prevent this from happening. Up next in our number 2 spot, Null. Null is the symbiote god. Created in 2018 in Venom issue 3, Null is an ancient evil deity who created the Clintar race, and a weapon known as the All-Black, the Necrosword. Null, who lived deep within the void in which it drifted ceaselessly, was intruded upon by the Celestials and the light of creation that spoiled its kingdom of darkness. So it sought out revenge, murdering Celestials, including the one whose severed head became nowhere. Anyway, Null has superhuman strength, speed, is immortal, is capable of umberkinesis, can create symbiotes and dominate them, can manipulate dark matter, generate matter, manipulate said matter, has a healing factor, can shapeshift, and is greatly skilled in hand-to-hand combat. The last one just kind of feels like a cherry on top, doesn't it? And finally, last but not least, in at number 1, CHTHON. CHTHON is some scary Previously an elder god, CHTHON has degenerated into a demon, all thanks to his insatiable greed for power and murdering other gods. Don't you just hate it when you degenerate into a demon because you've just been murdering people? I know I do. Anyway, CHTHON has been kicking around the Marvel Universe for billions and billions of years. He's got some terrifying powers. The ability to manipulate reality, use dark and chaos magic in which he has an unimaginable mystical power, which allows him to warp, manipulate and reconstruct the very fabric of existence and reality to his whims. He has created his own dimension in which he controls every aspect of its reality. He's telepathic. He can take over a mortal's body as a host on Earth, although he can't transfer his totality of power into said body, thank God. It's too much for that physical form to contain. Oh, and of course, he also has a genius level intellect. And at number 10, SURTUR. Sure, yeah, he's likely more powerful than some of the other demons who will land on the higher spots on our list, but this is about ranking scary, my friends, and we all saw this demon in Thor Ragnarok, and yeah, he was powerful, but he was not scary. He made me giggle. That aside though, let's take a look at SURTUR from the comics. First appearing in Journey into Mystery issue 97 in 1963, this demon isn't just a mystical baddie with the power of 1,000 blazing suns, which yes, that is pretty horrific in itself. He's also over 1,000 feet tall, he's a fire giant from an extra-dimensional plane that's known as the Land of Fire Demons, and his power is of apocalyptic proportions. Aside from manipulating fire and generating intense heat, SURTUR also has the ability to manipulate on a molecular level, transforming his fingers into serpents, as seen in Journey into Mystery issue 99. He also derives from Norse mythology, prominently being a figure during Ragnarok, in which the flames he brings forth engulf the earth. So yeah, no thank you. Would rather not die in a fiery hell. In at number 9, Mephisto. Like SURTUR, Mephisto is arguably one of the more powerful demons kicking around the Marvel Universe, and if this were a top 10 powerful demons list, he would definitely find himself in the top half. But in terms of being scary, while Mephisto does fit the bill, he suffers from two factors. The first is that out of all of the demons on our list, he is the most human looking. Second, we've been desensitized to the character, with him being one of the most commonly appearing demons in Marvel's panels. Sure, he wields terrifying power, but unlike some of his other nefarious peers, he is much less mysterious to us. Mephisto first appeared in the Silver Surfer issue 3 in 1968, a foe for Galactus' Herald and the Cosmic Hero, and a tempter, who, according to Mike Conroy, I quote, could offer the endlessly soul-tormented Silver Surfer the world. Now this immortal demon has been a perennial antagonist in the Marvel Universe since, capturing and hiding souls, posing as Satan, and generally just being And similar to our previous number, Mephisto also derives from another fictional historical figure, Mephistopheles, a demon hailing from Voss legend and German folklore, and is a devil who makes deals with Voss for the price of the mortal soul. And at number 8, Calumet. Calumet is a lesser known demon compared to the others on our list, yet he is still a terrifying creature. Just look at him. Worshipped by the cult of Calumet for centuries, he is a demon who looks like a humanoid goat. He first appeared in Dead of Night issue 11 in 1975, which was also the debut of his biggest foe, Scarecrow, not to be confused with DC's Scarecrow that is. He also goes by the name Strawman. Strawman is the reason why Calumet only has one horn. He ripped it from the monster's head and then sealed the dimensional gateway between the two realms behind an oil painting, trapping Calumet. Unlike the other demons on our list, the full extent of Calumet's power is still pretty unknown. But he is the lord of an extra-dimensional realm and had enough power to take over the Earth, although those powers were severely limited on our planet since he couldn't fully access it. You know, the whole dimensional rift thing. Portals, yay. That being said, he could use his abilities to grant power to others and send demons to Earth on occasion. So who knows what he could have done if he had had his full range of powers at his disposal during his comic appearances. We don't even fully know if Calumet is still kicking out there. Strawman would later inform Doctor Strange that he succeeded in destroying the demon, but there is nothing but Strawman's own word to confirm whether or not the demon is actually gone. So who knows, maybe he might pop up again in the future. And at number 7, Nightmare. Nightmare is like Marvel's Freddy Krueger, but minus the camp and knives for fingers. Nightmare is the ruler of a dream dimension, and is a fear lord. In this dream dimension, he torments humans who have found themselves there while they sleep. He is pretty whack. Nightmare imprisons humans in his dimension and even tormented Doctor Strange when Doctor Strange forgot to recite a spell before he went to bed. And if that wasn't scary enough, Nightmare rides around in his dream dimension on a demonic black horned horse, who is named Dreamstalker. How beautiful. He has the ability to draw power from the psychic energies of the subconscious minds of dreaming beings. And he has nigh omnipotence, omniscience, omnipresence. So all in all, Nightmare is not a demon you want to screw with. Moving on to number 6, Dweller in Darkness. Dweller in Darkness first appeared in Doctor Strange issue 30 in 1978, although had been mentioned in Marvel lore a handful of years earlier in Thor issue 229 in 1974. Now this immortal demon is capable of some fear-inducing abilities. Actually, Dweller can generate fear in other living beings, which in turn empowers and sustains him. In addition to that, he can create sentient creatures out of fear, he can turn deceased humans into shadow thralls, and he does not age. But here's where it gets really creepy. The Dweller became the demon he is thanks to the Way of the Shamblu, a ritual that involved the Dweller removing his own head from his body. His body died, but his head lives on as a corporeal being. It uses a robotic body, in case you were wondering. And at number 5, Zarathos. If you are a fan of Ghost Rider, Zarathos is a name that will be more than familiar to you. Zarathos first appeared in Marvel Spotlight issue 5 in 1972. In a 1973 Ghost Rider comic, the immortal demon was given a more embellished backstory in which the physical stone body of Zarathos had long laid underground until a Native American tribal sorcerer summoned him in order to help his tribe. Now if Zarathos helped them, the demon would be given a steady supply of souls to consume. He was down. The more souls he consumes, the more powerful he becomes. Now because of this relationship, a cult forms following the demon, which then catches the attention of our man Mephisto. Mephisto's all like, dude, no one should get more attention than me, and gets into a brawl with the demon, who then loses and ends up having to serve Mephisto. Zarathos is forced to spend his time in the netherworld, which is kinda like hell, with the exception of being bonded to humans in order to ravage souls, so he can go up on Earth. Here's where Ghost Rider comes in. Now Zarathos' strength and power is typically likened to Mephisto's, with the latter being just a little bit stronger than he is. He can control the elements on Earth and likes to trap his opponents by having the ground itself engulf them. He also likes to create rock spikes in order to impale people. What a fun guy. Moving on to number 4, Set. Set is the first elder god of Earth on our list today. He is an incredibly powerful ethereal being with vast cosmic powers. Set may have been spawned over 4 billion years ago, but he was first mentioned in Marvel's comics in 1971, in Conan the Barbarian issue 7, and then fully appeared in 1976's Marvel Feature Volume 2 issue 6. Was that right? Yes it was. He is limited only by his inability to leave the pocket dimension in which he resides. Sorcerers are able to call upon him for power though, and individuals wearing the serpent crown can also be endowed with some of his power, which ranges from levitation to mind control. Except be wary, Set would often taint the minds of those who are under his influence, controlling their minds to an extent. But here is where things get wacky. Way back when, Set discovered that if he ate his brethren gods, his own power would increase, so he became the first ever murderer. But because of this, he began to degenerate into a demon. And he started a trend with other elder gods committing the same act and also becoming demons themselves. More on that later though. Moving on to number 3, we have Dormammu. Dormammu is one of the first demons that come to mind when you think of demonic individuals lurking around the Marvel Universe. Created by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko in 1964, his first appearance was in Strange Tales issue 126. Now Dormammu is often considered to be one of Doctor Strange's most prominent foes, or as Strange calls it, his most terrible foe. He is also one of the universe's most powerful mystical entities. Why is that? Well, it's because he is composed of mystical energy that can be used to achieve pretty much anything. We are talking matter manipulation, energy projection, teleportation, possession, necromancy, resizing, bestowing a power, or creating other demons. That's a lot of scary shit. He's empowered by the worship of his followers, and while he's strongest in his home of the Dark Dimension, there have been times in the past where he's neared an almost multiversal scale of influence. Yeah, that is pretty terrifying. Imagine if he was real. I would be pooping myself with fear. Up next in our number 2 spot, SHUMA-GORATH. SHUMA-GORATH is known as the Lord of Chaos. Ooh, fun. First appearing in Marvel Premiere issue 5 in 1972, this demon's name was taken from a short story by Robert E. Howard, titled The Curse of the Golden Skull, that featured a dying magician who used the ironbound books of SHUMA-GORATH to curse humanity. As such, this demon in the Marvel Universe is a curse to humanity. Having ruled over the world, it demanded human sacrifice before it was eventually banished by a time traveler. More recently, in the 2013 Infinity Story arc, we saw Ebony Maw of the Black Order manipulate Doctor Strange to summon SHUMA-GORATH, to New York City of course, which as you can imagine did not go over well. So what's so horrific about this demon minus its aesthetic? Well, it is an ancient force of chaos, nigh invisible, and is a godlike ruler of over 100 different alternate universes. It can imitate the magic of others, it can alter reality, shapeshift, teleport, project energy, and much more. And worst of all, it can automatically destroy multiple galaxies via aura pressure alone. What the f***? As stated in Strange Tales Volume 2, Issue 14. Yikes. And finally at number 1, CHTHON. CHTHON is another elder god with vast cosmic abilities. And by vast, well, we mean he might arguably be the strongest, most powerful demon in the Marvel multiverse. Similar to Set, he degenerated into a demon the more that he killed, with his desire for power being absolutely ceaseless. He is responsible for creating many a demon and is often depicted as the ultimate primal evil in the universe. CHTHON, who gives us major Cthulhu vibes, first appeared in Marvel Chillers issue 1 in 1975, where he was simply called The Other. He wouldn't get a name until Avengers issue 186 in 1979. Devoted to the study and manipulation of mystical energies, CHTHON would become Earth's first master of black magic, and even experimented on his fellow gods. The only one to really oppose him, and to protect us, is Gaia, the Earth goddess and one of the only elder gods who did not fall into corruption to gain power. But having immense foresight, knowing Gaia would bring about an end to his freedom, he had written all of his spells and worked down on indestructible parchment, which would eventually become the Darkhold, the Earth's first tome of black magic, and a gateway for CHTHON to eventually return. After being defeated and exiled, he resides in his own dimension, spawning a race of demons capable of returning to Earth, even though he himself couldn't. Now these days he tends to possess characters in the Marvel Universe from Scarlet Witch to Quicksilver, with Wanda actually having to endure that twice. Luckily Doctor Strange helped her out and freed her from the demon's influence that last time that had happened during Secret Empire. Fun stuff.